Welcome to the WD Sports Lounge, where we talk sports and react to the current events of what's going on in the sports world. And ladies and gentlemen, it is officially Super Bowl Sunday. Clap, 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 clap. And Super Bowl Sunday will definitely be something to remember because it's a rematch of a Super Bowl that happened about, I'd say, 10 years ago. And it's the rematch between the Seattle Seahawks and the New England Patriots. Two teams that have actually that had two different journeys to the Lombardi game right now. And I have to say, hats off to the New England Patriots. Hate to say it, but but hats off to the New England Patriots because they were a team that came into the season with no expectations of even sniffing the playoffs, more or less, than actually playing in the Super Bowl game. Because the team actually was, this was Mike Vrabel's first go-around. First go around, I think. Yes, I think it's his first go around. But let me, if I'm wrong, just beat it up on the comment section. Let me know, correct me if I'm wrong, and I appreciate that. But the point is, ever since he's become the coach, he's instilled that culture that he's accustomed to being a part of when he was playing in the National Football League as a offensive lineman. Offensive line. Yes, offensive lineman, and it's like he embedded that Bill Belichick, that Tom Brady and Bill Belichick mentality, the Patriot way, quote unquote, as they say. He's embedded that motion into the team, and now he's brought them to a position to where they're like they're damn near at least. Me as of recording this video right now, they're about a couple of hours away from either raising the Lombardi Trophy or not. But the whole point is they're in the game. And shout out to Drake May, man. Drake May is looking like a Tom Brady 2.0. No, not Tom Brady 2.0. Tom Brady Part 2, so to speak. I mean, he's playing lights out. He's poised. He's like he's ready for this moment. And hats off to the organization for keeping themselves relevant. Even though we all gave Tom Brady and Bill Belichick the credit for building this dynasty that we call the Patriot, the evil empire, so to speak. But you just have to give hats off, man. When you're a winner, you're a winner, and when you embed winning to a certain culture, and you bring back a person that's been part of that culture, all he does is continue that on, man. So Mike Vrabel has done an excellent job. I'm not sure if he won the Coach of the Year, but I would have given him that nod, definitely. But hats out to the Patriots, and as far as the Seattle Seahawks as well. The Seahawks, it's two teams. They're the two teams that I'm surprised that both of them are at where they're at, because I didn't foresee the Seattle Seahawks coming over here either. Now that just tells me how much of a beast Sam Darnold is, because Sam Darnold, who's had a journey, who's somewhat been a journeyman up to this point, has just been dealt, he's just been dealt the bad cards, as an NFL quarterback. He was drafted with the Jets, and we know what type of organization that is. They just can't get right, and especially when they finally did have the coaching and staff, they did finally had the team and stuff like that. They just couldn't get over the hump, and ever since then they've been struggling as well. But he goes from being drafted to the Jets, then he goes to the Carolina Panthers. He makes some noise there, but I think injury hampered his career there. Then he moved to Minnesota. Now Minnesota, when he was with the Vikings, that's when I feel like he put people on notice, because Sam Darnold was always talked about, greatly talked about, or greatly mentioned about having a great arm, having a cannon of an arm that he could launch that ball, and offense is what drives the game nowadays. Defense still wins championships in my opinion, but offense drives the game now. And Sam Darnold never had a problem as far as having arm strength and stuff. So he was always known for that, but not being surrounded with the perfect tools as far as receivers and we're not talking about superstars or names or anything like that. Just people with talent and skill set that understands the playbook, that understand how execution works, and that doesn't make excuses or stuff like that. So finally, he put people on notice when he was in Minnesota, but he quietly went to Seattle, and little by little, you just saw them kept winning. They kept winning. When the mainstream media was sitting there talking about the Dallas Cowboys, they're talking about the Kansas City Chiefs, the Philadelphia Eagles, all the premier teams, the teams that have the cachet, so to speak. When the mainstream media was sitting there focusing on them, no one was mentioning these two teams, and they silently were creating their momentum to get to this point right now. And for me, being where I'm at, and being a sports fan that I am, I don't have the sense of the hype that the Super Bowl normally has for this game, so to speak. You know what I mean? I'm saying that respectfully, because in the past there's been, when the teams that the mainstream media wants to push actually make it, it's a big deal all over the place. But when the media doesn't get it right, and they're over here pushing the teams that don't even make the playoffs or gets bounced the first round, you're in a situation where now you have two teams that are in the Super Bowl, but there's no real hype to it. So I could be wrong. We'll definitely check out the ratings to see what kind of ratings the Super Bowl gave compared to last year. I know a lot of people are waiting for the halftime show. There's a lot of people that have some opinions about Bad Bunny playing in there, and then he has a big fan base that's waiting for him. So we'll see. Last year's Super Bowl performance by Kendrick Lamar broke records on any Super Bowl ever played, with the 33.5 million views that he had watching the Super Bowl halftime show. So apparently people were saying that the halftime show got more views than the game itself. So we'll see what this Super Bowl halftime show will do. I mean, I'm not really trying to compare the two, but I'm just speaking the facts about what's really going on. I think the mainstream media just needs to stop propagandize the teams that they want to propagandize, and actually pay attention to what the game is. And that goes for basketball as well, the NBA as well. The mainstream media likes to push their favorite players, they push their favorite teams, the Lakers, LeBron James, yada yada yada. You know what I mean? And they don't pay attention to the teams that are actually making noises out there. You got a young team in OKC who started off the season, I think, with a remarkable record of 25-1 or something like that, something crazy in that sense. And nobody was talking about it. All we were talking about was LeBron James and his son. LeBron James not playing, LeBron having sciatica, LeBron here, LeBron there, LeBron. That's all we've been hearing about. And now we have a plethora of young stars that deserve that type of push that they've been getting, that they need to get and don't get it. And when the time come and they dominate the teams, and they dominate the players that the mainstream media keeps talking about, those guys, the young guys, don't get any shine. So now when you got a guy like me who watches sports but don't get a chance to know who these guys personally are because the mainstream is not pushing them, when you have a finals like OKC did with the Indiana Pacers, no one cared. No one cared because, everybody wants the big market. Everybody wants the superstars and stuff like that. How do you build superstars? How do you build them? You build superstars by pushing them out there, by creating narratives for them, showing their background, their story, how they came up. You know what I mean? Market these guys, because these guys are the future of the business. Most most entities are keeping their eggs in one basket. Now with the NFL, it's kind of different because the Dallas Cowboys is not a person. It's an organization. So that organization will always be profitable to the NFL. So that's why they push them. But at the same time, it hurts their product as far as the Super Bowl goes. They're going by the fact that Super Bowl is always going to be mostly viewed and stuff like that. And I get that. But understand, you're in a year now where the Super Bowl is going to be competing with the World Cup. And the World Cup is in the United States. And I think the World Cup is going to finally demonstrate how much of a following they have in the United States soil, because there's a lot of arguments that out there that feel that there's a lot of people that argue that they feel the Super Bowl is a bigger event than the World Cup. And I chuckle at that because the fact of the matter is the World Cup is an every 4-year thing. So that lets you know what I mean? Imagine if they did, soccer may not be a popular sport in the United States, but they're going to show themselves this year when the World Cup comes to the United States. But I know I'm rambling and stuff like that, but I know I'm ranting a little bit. But the point is just that this Super Bowl Sunday, it just doesn't feel like the Super Sundays of old, and I blame the mainstream media for that because I think they wait till the last minute to push the product, and they're like, it kind of feels like you're shoving it down our throats because we didn't get the chance to grow with those teams, because those teams weren't talked about. They weren't on the forefront. It was the teams that couldn't make it, or the teams with the big names, the big markets. These are the ones that made it there. So we'll see. Just for me, my prediction for this game, speaking from a fan perspective, a little bit of bias. I would love to see the Seattle Seahawks win the Super Bowl because, for one, it would be a revenge game. They should have won the Super Bowl the first time against the New England Patriots. I always say to myself, I would die on that hill. If I was the coach, I would have ran Marshawn Lynch 4 times and walked away with my head high, knowing that I couldn't get through that. It was a defensive stop that caused them to win the Super Bowl. Although it still was a defensive stop that caused them to win the Super Bowl, but I didn't give my guy, the potential MVP of that Super Bowl, a chance to do what he had to do. So now I feel, maybe now, I would like to see the Seahawks get that revenge and get that second chip. But if I'm talking football, if I'm talking about history, if I'm talking about what I know this team is capable of to be, I think the New England Patriots are going to win this game, and I think it's going to be a close one. My final score I predicted was 24-21, the New England Patriots. But like I said, that's just my prediction. Let me know what yours are. Leave it on the comment section. Let me know what you think. Do you think the Super Bowl is going to live up to expectations based on the footage, the coverage that it's received, or do you think it feels a little bit flat because of the lack of coverage that was given to us throughout the season, the build up and stuff like that? So let me know what you think on the comment section. Until then, like, share, subscribe if you like this, and stay tuned to the next video, y'all. This is WD Sports Lounge signing off. Ciao.